Hey friend, welcome to Self-Transformed, a podcast redefining self-care through simple fitness, nutrition, and mindset habits. I'm your host, Emily Nichols, certified personal trainer, Whole30 coach, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. Hey, I know the struggle is real when it comes to taking care of you. I too am a busy working mom who felt physically and emotionally drained until I took action on my own transformation journey. I finally found the solutions to feeling confident and living a healthy lifestyle that doesn't feel hard, and now I'm on a mission to equip you with sustainable tools to help transform your life from the inside out, guilt-free. Together, we will simplify your health and fitness into daily habits that don't feel like another thing on your long to-do list, but daily actions that light you up instead. So if you're ready to redefine self-care and step into your own self-transformation, then let's do this. You're listening to episode 106 of Self-Transformed. Hey friend, welcome back to the show. We're in a new month. It's August. This should be a very exciting month. I am actually turning 40 on the 23rd. I can't believe I'm turning 40. I remember when my mom and dad turned 40 and that was such a big deal. Now I'm like, gosh, I feel like I'm in the prime of my life, and I hope you feel like that as well, no matter what age you're at. But even as you're getting older, that you still feel like you're in your prime, right? This is also a very exciting month because I'm going to be hosting another free workshop at the end of the month. Look for a big announcement about what that will be here in the next week or two here on Self-Transformed. I'm getting some feedback from my Facebook friends. So if you want to give a little feedback on what you want this month's free mini workshop to be in the Facebook community, head to bit.ly/self-transformed-fam, F-A-M, because we're family. We are family. And you can leave your feedback over there in the community and hang around for some funny memes and GIFs as well. GIFs? GIFs? I don't know. I like GIFs. That's what we're going for. So this month's winner of a free habit hacking strategy call is Susan Beth. Susan, hey girl, hey. Message me on Instagram at EmilyNichols22 or send me an email at coachemilynichols@gmail.com so we can set up your free habit hacking strategy call. But Susan was so sweet. She said, so good. Love this podcast. I love Emily's passion and all of the practical wisdom she shares. That means so much to me, Susan Beth. Thank you so much, girl, for leaving that review. And make sure to message me so we can set up that habit hacking strategy call for you and me to knock out some habit hacks to help you stop feeling overwhelmed. Okay, let's do it. So gang, remember, you can just leave a review on iTunes and maybe next month you'll get on a habit hacking strategy call with me. Or if you're like, I can't wait, I want to go and pay for Emily to do this, I made it really super affordable for you. You can just go to bit.ly/habit hacking call to set that up with me. Okay, so and make sure, like I said earlier, if you want to come over to the free Facebook community, that's at bit.ly/self-transformed-fam. I have some top secret stuff I'm sharing over there within this week. Maybe a little bit about Self-Transform You. It's launching again, coming up very soon. And my girlfriends over there are getting the first peek at that. Okay, enough of that. One more thing before we get into this interview with Holly Haynes. So I want to thank you all so much for all of the prayers that have been sent my family's way as my son Dylan had open heart surgery on July 22nd. At the day I am recording this, it has been a week since his surgery, and y'all, he's doing so amazing. God is so good. God is so good. My son is so resilient. He's so amazing. He handled it. It was just very scary. You know, I don't know what it feels like to be the person to have open heart surgery. I know what my mama heart felt like with him having surgery, but he was so brave and he did a lot of really scary things that he faced head on. And I told him, I was like, Dylan, you have done some really hard things in a very short amount of time over the past few days, and you're only 13 years old. This proves to you that you can do and handle any other hard things that come your way. So I hope that serves as some inspiration for you too, that you can do hard things, and that God is so good. God is so good. Okay, now let's get into this interview with Holly Haynes. Y'all, we are talking about her top productivity tips. So if you're like me, I am one of those people where I will start making a to-do list at the beginning of the week. These are the things that I need to get done this week. And I keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it and getting so overwhelmed because there's always so many things that need to be done in such a short amount of time. We are all busy working mamas. You may or may not be a mama, but regardless, we are all super busy. I mean, I've had to pause this intro to the show maybe 3 times now because the dog started barking. FedEx man pulled up and I had to sneeze. Okay, I'm trying to be as productive as possible before my 4th grader gets off the bus. And I'm trying to use the best use of my time to get this done. But I have to tell you, I failed. I didn't schedule this into my day when I needed to. And Holly is going to help us overcome the overwhelm that we feel from our never-ending to-do list, okay? She has a method she's going to share with us today. In this episode, it has to deal with cake. Yum. I'm all about that. Let's go. But beyond that, I have to share a little bit more about Holly with you. So she helps female entrepreneurs take back control of their time with proven productivity techniques, systems, and structure to create a strategy that scales long term. Okay, she's the host of the Crush the Rush podcast. She's a featured Thrive author. She has a 20-year business consulting background with Fortune 500 companies, and she also runs her coaching business from her home while raising her twin daughters and her husband. She works for a nonprofit, and she was so nice to send me her Crush the Rush planner that she has developed over the past year, which I am all about that. Obviously, it sounds like I've been a little overwhelmed lately, and I need to make the best use of my time as well. So these strategies Holly is going to share with you today, it is going to apply towards any working woman listening to the show today. If you feel like you are just so overwhelmed by your to-do list, if you have found yourself saying, there's never enough hours in the day, I can just never get anything done, then girlfriend, get a pen and paper handy. Take some notes. If you're driving or listening to this in the shower, make a mental note or get out of the shower, and while you're getting ready, take some audio notes because you are going to feel super productive because of the strategies Holly is going to share with us on today's show. So let's get into this conversation with Holly Haynes. All right, gang. Thanks so much again for tuning in to Self-Transformed. Holly, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Gang, I'm so excited for you to hear from Holly Haynes today from Crush the Rush podcast. And before we get into this conversation, Holly, I ask every guest this first question. What does self-transformed mean to you? What comes to mind when you hear that phrase?
Yeah, this is such a good question. And when I was thinking about it, I thought of all these different answers of like, well, it could be this or it could be this. And I think for me, it's just like continuously improving, right? Because what book was I reading? I can't remember, but it's always like taking that next step, right? So like to me, self-transformation is really like acknowledging where you are, looking back for like a minute to understand where you came from, and then, taking that next step forward. So like where I am now, I would have never imagined even a year ago, but like where I'm going to be a year from now, like I don't really know. And so I think it's just that like self-transformation that evolves, like as you grow, other things around you grow, and then just continuing to stay focused on like taking that next step.
Yeah, I love that. And everyone always has a different answer.
It's a great question.
That's why I ask it. Yeah, well, and you're right, Holly, because we're always in a state of like evolution or change. And to be able to get to who you're meant to be a year from now, 5 or 10 years from now, you need to go through these different steps and processes, because you may not be able to handle what your life is going to be in 5 years until you go through the next 5 years of evolution and transformation, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
For sure. Well, tell us more a little bit about you, kind of thinking of your own transformation story, Holly, kind of where you've been and what has led you into who you are today and what you do today.
Yeah. So I think when I think transformation, I think like personal and business. And I feel like mine are sort of like all meshed into one. So I live in Columbus, Ohio. I have twins who are 7, almost 8. I have a stepdaughter who's actually 22. So if you've ever thought about what it's like to have twins and a daughter in high school at the same time, like there's a reason why people probably don't recommend that. My husband stays at home and actually left his job to stay at home with our twins. And then now he does real estate. So we're sort of this like mesh of a family here in Columbus. And then I actually work full time. So I work full time for a nonprofit. And we were actually just talking about this before we jumped on live. I got my start in business in network marketing. So like I was sharing the story, like I didn't know what network marketing was. I didn't have a Facebook page. Wasn't even on Instagram. And I sort of like was dabbling in it. And when it comes to transformation, like I was trying to just be healthier as a like busy working mom. Cause I was like, my twins were at the time like 18 months old. I was working full time and I was like, how the heck do you do this? Like nobody told me this. And so I was sort of on a mission that I just wanted to like talk about it more because I felt like I was so unprepared. And I also felt like I was just having this like out of body experience, like nothing was the same. And so for me, like morning routine and working out and just creating a schedule was what helped me sort of get to that next level. Long story short, I sort of burnt myself out on that business and was like, I really love this. And I really want to help other women, build a business, but build it in a way where they're putting their family first and they're putting their priorities first, but they're also making an income and making an impact. And so in January of 2020, I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself 1 year. I'm going to totally pivot, hire a coach, like do all the things that seem really crazy, scary. And then in March, the pandemic hit and I was like, oh my God, like what are we going to do? But we kept going. And so that's sort of where the podcast came because I was like, well, what can I do? I can start a community because to me, like my number one thing was I want to get the message out there that there's like a different way to do things. So we started the podcast, which then led to like courses and masterminds and planners and sort of all the things. But that's kind of like a transformation of me trying to just like make it as a new mom to where we are now.
Yeah. I love how most female entrepreneurs, like what we do now is usually based off a problem we were trying to solve for ourselves from the start, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so interesting because on paper, I was like, yeah, I want to lose weight. Having twins is a lot.
Right.
But what really was happening was I wanted more out of like what was happening in our schedule and like my 9 to 5. I was like, I want to be able to give more and to like make more of an impact. So it wasn't really about like the workout program. It was more about like, well, how can I make a bigger impact or how can I feel like I'm of value, like outside of feeding my kids or whatever that is.
Right.
Which I think people don't realize right away or maybe after the fact. So yeah, that's such an interesting question.
Yeah. We get so caught up when we have our kids, especially like your firstborn, like your identity is tied up in being a mom now and taking care of them. And I feel like so many women that I've talked to in just my own personal experience, I feel like you kind of lose your own identity for a while and it takes you a while to come back and figure out, well, who do I want to be now? And what kind of example do I want to set for my kids? And that's a whole transformation, evolution in itself.
Yeah, exactly. And the cool part has been because of the timing of the pandemic and when I was like, oh, I'm going to change all the things, my girls have been like a huge part of it. I mean, I have like pictures of them like packing the planners and like putting stickers on things and like pretending that they're like on client calls or like they're on Zoom calls with like their American Girl dolls. And I was like, well, that's a positive, right? Like they know or think that they can build a business now. So I think that's a positive.
That's cool.
Impact.
I love that. Well, Holly, everyone listening to this show, the majority of the women listening are busy working moms, regardless if they're working a full-time job or an entrepreneur or both or a third thing on there as well or fourth. But a challenge I hear from most of my clients and my listener base is I don't have enough time. That is
Mhm.
always and always.
I hear that too.
The second thing is I feel guilty when I do take time, but that's a whole different, that could be a whole episode
Yeah.
in itself. So why do you feel like women always feel like we don't have enough time?
Well, there's two things. So one, I would say you have exactly enough time to get exactly what you need to get done, because no matter what, if it's a priority, like if you have to get your kids to soccer at 5:00, like you're going to figure it out, or you have to have a presentation done by noon tomorrow, like you're going to figure it out. Everything else is probably not a priority, even though you might want it to be, right? Like you might want to make the brownies for the PTO from scratch, but instead you use a box. I totally use a box. I would not make them from scratch, but it's just different priorities. The other thing is I think people, and I'm guilty of this, you start your day with a list of like 50 things on it. And it's just, you're setting yourself up for failure before the day even starts. And it took me a really long time to realize this because, things happen during the day. You have meetings during the day, or maybe you have appointments, or you have kids who, no matter how much you plan, like will just do their own thing no matter what. And then you're not going to get to all 50 of those things. And if you don't, you end your day feeling like defeated and overwhelmed because you're like, well, I had 50 things, but instead I only got 2 done. And then you're like, well, I'll just get to it tomorrow. And it's just this cycle that like continues and continues and continues. So one of the things that I started doing was saying, okay, I'm going to pick 3 things every day. And I call it my cake method, which is kind of fun because you get to wake up every day and think about a piece of cake. But it's really easy to remember. So if you get overwhelmed with like productivity tips and like, well, I can't time block, that's too hard, or whatever it is, think about cake. And so I wake up every day and I'm like, here are my 3 things for the day. One might be business, one might be family, one might be personal. But the theory is that there's 3 things. When you get them done, you move on to your sprinkles if you want, right? So you don't have to add sprinkles. You don't have to eat sprinkles. If you get your 3 things done, you can take a break and celebrate like, hey, I got my 3 things done. Now I can have some white space and actually like have a minute to think or take a break.
Hey girl, jumping in on this conversation really quick to make sure you know that my signature program, Self-Transform You, is open for enrollment. This is my signature 6-week coaching program that is going to give you a realistic and simple, keyword simple, health and fitness plan that you will actually stick with forever. This is backed by proven habit strategies, gang, in order to help you transform from the inside out and really redefine self-care through simple fitness, nutrition, and mindset habits so you can start being confident, empowered, and just lit up and living the life you were meant to live. So trust me, I know what it feels like to feel like you don't have any time to get healthy and fit, and you feel self-conscious in your own skin, yet you find yourself on the newest diet again, only to fail, feel frustrated, and gain all the way back. So I remember wanting to find a food freedom and fitness plan that would actually fit into my busy life without it feeling like another thing on my to-do list. So if you have ever found yourself saying, I feel like I'm always starting and stopping a new diet. I wish I could stop obsessing over food and the scale. I wish I liked working out. I wish I could find the time and do this guilt-free. Then Self-Transform You is going to help transform your life. So go to selftransformu.com to enroll in this 6-week program now. I will be there for you as your coach, your mentor, and your friend. I've seen it transform my own client's life, and I know it can transform yours too, friends. So again, go to selftransformu.com, and I'll see you in STU.
Most people don't do that. And so then what starts to happen is instead of like ending your day with a list of 50 things you didn't get to, you're like, well, heck yeah, I got 3 things done. Tomorrow I'm going to get 3 more. Now you just got 6 done instead of 2. You're not overwhelmed, and you're still keeping a list, right, of all the things. So it's like you're not losing track of it. If you're having a day where you're feeling like, oh, I've got all this energy, and maybe your kids are at camp or something, and you have like an extra hour, then you can go to that sprinkles list, pull it in and get some more done, but you don't have to. So really focusing on that like power of 3 method every day has really just helped keep things in focus and just remember, like, consistency over time is where most people will quit because it's really hard to be consistent. But if you do 3 things every day, I mean, I even do it on the weekends, you're going to get so much more done. You're not going to feel overwhelmed. And, occasionally, and I like to use like an actual piece of cake as an example, but like if you have a 4-layer cake one day, it's probably okay. If you start to get like a 5 or 6-layer cake, like it's probably going to fall over, which is exactly how you're going to feel. Like you're going to feel like, oh, I did too much, or I ate too much sugar. Like I just feel awful. So if you have like a 4-layer cake day one day, because you just absolutely have to get 4 things done, then the next day have a 2-layer cake because you know that you sort of overdid it, which sometimes happens. And then you're going to scale it back because you can't eat like 5-layer cakes every day. So that's like my long answer. But I mean, it's just a really easy way to like just to start to gain some momentum. And I mean, there's tons of other productivity tips you could apply, but that really just helps you like start to see results quickly. You can literally do it right now, like write down 3 things, consistently do it for 3 or 4 days, and you're going to see the results immediately.
I love this so much. I have to while I say it because I love it so much. Because I am the person where I will take out a notebook and I will write down, okay, I need to do this. And then as I start adding to it, I'm like, oh, and I need to do
it's overwhelming.
Oh yeah, the dog I need to call the vet, and oh, I need to make this, and I need to, and then it's a long list, and then I'm too overwhelmed and I never feel like I'm going to get it done. And then you're right, it spills into the next day. And I get such joy out of checking the box off or
exactly
off that I got it done, right?
Yeah. And I would even say, like, so let's say, like, as your example, like call the vet or like order school supplies or whatever those like little things are. So you could have like one item that's part of your cake and it could say like busy tasks or something. And like block off 1 hour. Those are your busy tasks. You're going to call the vet, make the doctor's appointments, do all the things. You have 1 hour to do it in, you get it done, and then you move on. Instead of having it on a list of like 50 different things where you're like, oh, I'll just call tomorrow. Or, it's that task that like sits there and like gets moved over and over and over again. You'll just knock it out.
Yeah, I love that. It reminds me of like 2 different books right off the bat. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, where you get like the thing you don't want to do the most out of the way first. So I got up this morning. Usually I work out first thing in the morning, but my son just had surgery last week and we've been in and out from home, and my bedroom in itself with like the laundry piled up. Like I was trying to keep up with laundry, but not folding it. And this morning, like I felt like clutter with like my brain felt cluttered. So this morning I got up and was like, okay, I have to get this done today in order to be productive the rest of the day. So I set a timer for 30 minutes and I was like, in 30 minutes, I have to have it done or else I'm stopping and I'll just finish it before I go to bed. And it made me feel really good to get it done versus I think a lot of times as working moms, especially, we have so much clutter in our heads. And I like your cake method because it simplifies it a lot more. And thinking of eating that frog, what are my top 3 priorities today? And like you said, if it's a priority, I will get it done. Like you said, if my kids have to be somewhere at a certain time, I make it happen. So why can't I make things a priority on my list as well?
Yeah. And I think sometimes we make these like fake rules for ourselves, right? Like we're like, we have to work out when we first wake up, but why do you really have to do that? Is it a priority for you to work out, or is it a priority for you to work on your business for an hour so that you can bring in a certain amount of income, but just eat really healthy today and work out tomorrow, or work out on the weekend when you have more time? So it's like really breaking down the rules that you have in your head that you have to do things a certain way and really trying to figure out like, well, what are the true priorities and why?
Sure. Let me ask you this, Holly, thinking from a self-care perspective, because obviously we talk about that a lot here on Self-Transformed. How do you schedule in self-care for yourself? And self-care obviously looks different for everybody as far as what that means to you, but do you schedule that in? Is that just something unconsciously you do every day, or is that part of your cake method as well? Maybe one of those personal ways?
It's kind of a mix. So I would say usually part of my morning routine every day is some sort of like, self-care thing. So I'm a big journaler. I read every morning. I do typically work out, or if I'm not working out, I'm sleeping, which I would say, don't forget, like sleep is definitely a form of self-care. So I always will work that in. And then I would say, there's different levels of self-care, right? So like I try, once a month to try to do something for myself, whether it's like a massage or like a girls' night or just something that's like different. I also will schedule. So I would say, to answer your question, yes, I schedule it. Like every other week I go to acupuncture. I also have a pretty strict boundaries, which I would say is another form of self-care, which people might not think of. So like for the most part, like I'm off my phone and I don't answer messages for anything at 7:00. So I'm pretty strict with those boundaries. Now, of course, there's times when I do, but like having that, like just disconnect from social media and just like technology and just having like time to read or think or, spend time with our family, like those are probably the more like day-to-day self-care things. I will say, because we were commenting on, you have the same like big yearly calendar behind you that I have. So one of the things that we do as a family, and we just started this, is planning some sort of like vacation or break every quarter. Now, this is kind of a stretch. Like we haven't fully implemented it yet, but I kept reading like, all the billionaires of the world, like they're taking more vacations, like they have more time to themselves. And it's true, like it recharges you and then you come back and you can actually do more. And so we made a pact as a family that even if it was just like a long weekend or like one day where we're like doing something together that's maybe just like off the grid, we're going to try to do it once a quarter. So it's probably a mix of like daily routine and scheduling.
Yeah. I love that, incorporating your kids into planning that out too. I've heard a lot of, as far as planning like vacations. I love that. That's a really great idea in itself as well. But also, this is something I've wanted to start implementing more as a family. My boys are 13 and 9 and they're in sports and they're busy and whatnot. And I feel like my husband and I usually have like what we call like business meetings between me and him, where we just talk about, okay, we do our budget for the week. Okay, here's what's coming up for the week for the boys. It's usually me telling him this is what's
It's like a download
with the boys. But I wanted to start doing like a family meeting every Sunday to talk about, here's what's coming up for the week. How can we save time together by, somebody helping out with the laundry, or, my 13-year-old is big enough where he does his own laundry, or they have chores that they do throughout the week. And it's all helping us help each other, which in turn gives us more family time. But that's something I wanted to start incorporating, having like a family meeting.
We're not like super strict about that, but during COVID, we actually moved a whiteboard in our kitchen. And so like every Sunday or Monday, we would sit down and be like, okay, this is what we're doing this week. And at first it was more of like, just trying to make the most of everyone being at home. And like, we were trying to find some like fun crafts. Like everyone was kind of just, I don't know if you've ever taught kindergarten or first grade at home, but it was kind of a lot. Terrible. So that was like our solution, but it stayed there. And so now like what we've done is, I typically do my planning on Sunday and I'll go through the week and sort of like you do a download, but we'll write things on this whiteboard now, like, hey, let's go to the library, or it's summer right now. So maybe we can do a craft on Friday, or like pizza night. And we'll just kind of write down like what's coming. Which has helped my girls quite a bit just in learning like how to think ahead, but also like, we're just starting to get out of the house more, like helping them better understand like, okay, we're going to do this and I have to be ready for this, and helping them prepare.
Yeah. It all comes down. Your kids are watching everything you do and you're setting them up for success ultimately.
They make checklists all the time. And I was like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but we'll figure it out.
I love that. Well, thinking about mindset when it comes to productivity or having more time, Holly, what would be the biggest mindset tip you would give to that busy working mom listening to the show today, as far as their mindset and time goes? Because like I said, the biggest challenge I hear is I don't have enough time, but a lot of times women associate guilt with taking time for themselves.
I mean, I think it goes back. I was actually looking through the affirmations that I write in the morning, and I think it goes back to trusting that you have exactly enough time to do exactly what you need to do. I think it was in January, I took Gabby Bernstein's like meditation course, which is really awesome. But she's like really big into like, manifesting and putting things out there, which is, if you're just getting started with mindset work, like it's kind of like a little woo woo and you're like, okay, I don't really understand this, but we're just going to keep going. But it's really like waking up each day and saying like, I have exactly enough time to do exactly what I need to do. And then it kind of goes into like, what is my priority today? Like, is it making sure that the kids do X, Y, Z? Is it that I have a big thing at work? Sometimes even if the cake method overwhelms you, it goes back to like, what's the one thing that I have to do today? Like, and I just try to be really, really consistent with that, but trusting, and that's where the mindset works in, that the right things will happen at the right time.
Right. Right. I love that so much. And that takes work.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Like you've got to work on it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes work and believing it. It.
Yeah.
For sure. The more you do it though, the more you believe. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, Holly, thank you so much for this conversation. I really feel like a lot of women are going to be able to relate to the cake method and start using it right away. And I love the sprinkles on top too. I love a good metaphor.
Right? Like who doesn't want to talk about cake and sprinkles?
Right.
Like,
I feel like I need like the taco method now, because everyone knows I love tacos. So, but what is next for you and Crush the Rush, and where can everyone connect with you online?
Yeah. So you guys can listen to the podcast, Crush the Rush. I do 2 episodes a week. One is like a teaching, like an interview episode. And then one is a solo episode with me. And then I hang out the most on Instagram. It's Holly_Marie_Haynes. And I share all kinds of things out there. So you can grab links to my community, the planner, and just really see all the things that we have coming up. So
wonderful. And y'all go grab yourself a planner. Holly was so nice to send one to me, and it was such a fun mail surprise. So thank you for sending that. I started using it this morning. I can't.
Yeah, you're welcome. We have new covers that come out every quarter. So yeah, you'll have to take a peek at the new covers.
Nice. Certainly will. So Holly, thank you so much again for this conversation. And y'all make sure to go check out Crush the Rush to get some even more tips on being more productive and also using that cake method.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Love it. Thanks, Holly.
Holly, thank you so much for this conversation. Friend, I hope you feel empowered to start taking back ownership of your time and setting priorities in your life in order to get things done and stop feeling all of that clutter in your head. And I get it. You go through seasons of life where it feels a little crazier, for lack of a better word, than other. I feel like I've been in that season the past month with my son having surgery and leading up to that and just feeling the anxiety from that. But I know for me, in order to be able to serve you, my clients, my community, my family, I need to be able to make the most of my time so I'm able to meet my goals and show up 100% for my family. So let's get into the 3 big takeaways I have from this conversation with Holly Haynes. Number 1, what are your true priorities? Okay, what are your true priorities? If you're running a business, are you trying to serve as many people? Do you have financial goals you're trying to reach? Within your job, do you have some set goals that you're trying to reach? Do you have goals for your family? What are your top priorities? Okay, that's something that we do within Self-Transform You. We do something called a time audit, where we go through your whole day, list out everything you do, and find the time sucks in your day. Okay, what is sucking all the time away where you're not getting things done? So I love the cake method that Holly provides. Having like a 3-layer cake, there's some sprinkles on top if you get some extra things done. If not, they just sprinkle into the next day, right? Or you can take away a couple of tiers from that cake if you need to on a day or a season where it's just not gonna, three tiers is just not gonna happen that day, okay? And the reason I brought up doing a time audit is because you're going to notice there's a lot of things within your day where you're wasting time, okay? But if you're keeping those priorities at the forefront of your mind, if you're using that cake method, what are the top 3 priorities I need to do absolutely today without fail? Friend, it's the compound effect. You are going to get those 3 things done. And then the next day, you're going to get 3 more things done. You're going to maybe get a little bit more done the next day. It's the compound effect. The more you do a little bit over time, it compounds into something really, really big and transformational. You are self-transforming the way you do things versus making a to-do list with 20,000 things on it. Friend, you're not going to get done, that many things in a day, and then you feel defeated and that you're always behind. Why not feel empowered and get just the 3 things done, your 3 things on the cake method, like Holly mentioned, sprinkle it into the next day if you need to. Simplify all the clutter in your head. Think about your top priorities, what you need to get done daily, just those 3, and do something like a time audit like we do within Self-Transform You, so you're able to really evaluate where's some of my time going as well. Okay, so that was huge. That was a huge aha moment for me, and I hope it was for you too. I'm the queen. I love crossing things off my to-do list. Sometimes I cross it off even if I did it like the day before. Or I write something down, right, that I already did just so I can cross it off the list. You've done that too. I know you have if you're like, I know you have too. But let's just simplify it a little bit, okay? I love the cake method. Love the cake method. So, number 2, what are the fake rules you've made for yourself? Right? I loved when Holly brought this up. What are the true priorities in your life? Like we already talked about. What are the fake rules you've given yourself? What are the fake rules you have given yourself? Like she mentioned, I have to work out first thing in the morning. Yes, that is something that I personally do. But what's that rule? I mean, what if I don't? What's the why behind these rules you have set for yourself? If you analyze that, so say for me, I'm like, I work out first thing in the morning because it's the best time of day for me. It opens up my mind. I'm able to be more efficient and productive after that because I have more energy and I just feel empowered. Great. But if you're like, oh, Emily told me I have to work out first thing in the morning, so that's like a fake rule that I'm doing like in my own life. And if you're like, it's not working out in my life, then friend, don't do it. Don't do it. Like Holly mentioned, that being healthy for yourself can look a little different as well. Okay? So what are the other fake rules you have put forth in your life, and really analyzing the why behind it? If you have a strong why behind it, keep it. That's great. That is a nice little schedule or routine you have for yourself, a habit. But if it's just a fake rule, you can change it. You can change it. And then number 3, this is kind of like a double one. So these are like next level productivity tips. So I love this. Schedule your self-care. Schedule it. Put it in your Google Calendar. Write it in your planner. Use your Crush the Rush planner like Holly has created for us as an audience. That's a next level productivity tip for you. Schedule your self-care. Just don't say, oh, I'm going to, go work out, or, oh, I'm going to meal prep for a little bit, or, oh, I'm going to journal or spend some time, in my Bible. Schedule it. It won't happen if you don't schedule it. And another next level productivity tip is involve your family. Show them. This is something I want to start implementing, having a family meeting, let everyone know what's coming up for the week, what we can do to help each other out. that you just can't carry it all on your shoulders, friends. Your kids see you every day and what you're doing, right? Why don't you empower them to take a little control of their schedule as well, and your whole family schedule, and plan out. That way you guys are able to be more productive as a family. So that way they don't feel you're overwhelmed. They don't feel overscheduled. That way they feel intentional with their time as well. I love that so much. It's something I really want to start doing with my boys as well, especially now that we're back in school. Hallelujah, they're back in school. All right, gang. Well, as always, make sure to head to the show notes. You can find Holly's website over there. I have it linked to her Crush the Rush podcast. Such a great show if you are a female entrepreneur, and she provides a lot of great productivity tips regardless if you're an entrepreneur or working mom in general. Holly, thank you so much for this conversation. I feel more empowered to take control of my schedule as well. And, I am spinning a lot of plates. I'm wearing a lot of hats. I'm spinning a lot of plates, and I need to be more efficient and productive with my time. And I think using that cake method is going to really help. I feel like I need to draw a cake out now because I like that visual reference. So gang, thank you again for tuning in. Like I said at the beginning of the show, make sure to enter your review in iTunes if you want to hop on a habit hacking strategy call with me next month. Okay? Until then, I will see you all next week. Sending you lots of love. Hey girl, real quick before you go, if you love today's show and know your girlfriends need to hear this message too, then grab a screenshot, post it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at EmilyNichols22, because the more mamas out there hearing this message, the more empowered we'll all feel to take care of ourselves so we can pour from a full cup. Or the number one way you can thank me for this podcast is to leave a rating and review in iTunes. That way, more mamas will find the show here too. Love you and appreciate you, girlfriends. See you next time.